Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Falato. And Nick, if I told you back in June when we were doing this podcast once a week that two Giants wide receivers, two on this roster would combine for over 300 receiving yards in one game, and a quarterback would throw for over 200 on just 20 air yard throws alone, just those ones, over 450 in total. And the Giants would actually score 37 points. And I told you they would also lose that game. Would you tell me I'm crazy, or would you just say you're crazy for thinking that you would win a game like that as a fan of the Giants?
That's what it seems like, right? It's really depressing at the moment. The sheer fact that all of those statistics you just listed off, they're accurate. And we should be like, that's amazing. Yes, we're competing in this game. But it just seemed like to me, and I don't know if I'm a pessimist here or I just been jaded because of the New York Giants, that I felt like the Dallas Cowboys were going to find a way to get the Giants to overtime, and the Giants would find a way to lose this game. And the Giants, look, they competed their butts off in this game, man. Their offense, Russell Wilson, Flowers, he was 2 yards away from setting his career high, his second game as a New York Giant with an offense that has been inept for years. So I want to heap praise towards Russell Wilson for that, albeit that interception. That's one I'm sure he would like that back to throw behind him in overtime. Overtime was a disaster when it comes to the offense. But nevertheless, Dan, this team, like, I don't want to say they should have won this game, but they were right there, dude. They were right there to win this football game, despite being undisciplined, despite committing all of these freaking penalties. And alas, they find a way to lose it because they went up against a kicker with a freaking bionic leg, and their defensive coordinator loves to play like 50 yards off the damn line of scrimmage.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about all of that on tonight's episode. First of all, I wanted to give a shout out to the chat. Gene, Isser, shout out Rob. I see you in here. Rob Thomas, Triple OG, bunch of guys in here. Gil Martinez, shout out Gil Martinez. Clyde Frog, always in here. Shout out to Clyde Frog, big fan of yours. And I just wanted to remind people, for those of you who are new to our live shows after the game, we will do live shows like this, and we will answer questions from the chat. We will answer the super chat questions. So it's one way to give back to the show and help us grow, just support us. So it's the one time we asked to do it. So if you want your question answered or you want to be heard in any way, put it as a super chat and we will answer it there. But Nick, I actually felt the other way. I thought when Russell Wilson threw that phenomenal touchdown pass to Malik Neighbors, 24 seconds left. I mean, phenomenal. That was the best throw a Giants quarterback has made since Eli Manning, and it rivals anyone that he's made. If you rewatch that throw, and we will on tape, Malik Neighbors had his helmet messed with. He was blinded on the play. He had no time to react, and you could kind of see it. Neighbors just kind of has his hands here, and the ball just drops right into his hands. It was as good as it gets, but it wasn't the only one. He threw dime after dime after dime, 200-plus yards on deep throws. And to be honest, out of the 450 passing yards that the Giants and Russ threw for today, not much of it came after the catch. Most of it was just Russell Wilson anticipating, throwing with touch, throwing with pinpoint ball placement, and throwing with good timing as well. So I thought the game was over. There was only 24 seconds left, Nick, and I just didn't think that the Cowboys would get into field goal position because I thought the Giants defense would come up with a stop. They didn't. And I believe the main reason they didn't come up with a stop was not just because the players were gassed, and they were, because they came up with a stop on first down, and they came up with a stop the possession before when they actually blitz stack. But I believe Shane Bowen played a big role in that loss and that specific play on 2nd and 10 with one of the most perplexing defenses I've ever seen, dropping that many guys into what looked like, only I can describe to you, Nick, as a prevent defense. It wasn't, but it looked like it with the depth that they played the second and third level at. And it was almost as if he thought this guy, Brandon Aubrey, needed to get to 50 to 55 yards to make a field goal. It's like this imbecile hasn't been watching the NFL for the last year and a half. This guy has not realized that I cannot give 18 yards. It was an 18-yard cushion, to set up for a 64-yarder that this guy made look like a chip shot, Brandon Aubrey. That thing would have been good from 77 yards. He made it look like a chip shot in the face of Shane Bowen. This imbecile put together this guy ever do anything different in a game? Do we ever see anything interesting in him? Occasionally, he'll blitz a DB or he'll send a blitz. Oh, good for you, you blitz. Like, you're sitting there on your thumbs all game as a coordinator. You've done nothing in the NFL. We don't even know if your success in the past with the Titans has anything to do with you, and we're all just Vrabel, for God's sake. We just don't know. We don't know if he had anything to do with the Titans' past success. He's basically just a no-name guy that was hired to be a coordinator here, and it's proving to be an absolute disaster. And there are no real options for us, Nick. We'll get into that in a little bit. A lot of people wanted the Giants to fire Shane Bowen. I don't think people realize how difficult and risky that is to fire a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator in season. It's not really like it's possible, but they'll still be running Bowen's defense. But what I wanted to say, Nick, was this. Last week, we got on the show and we said the Giants were outcoached. Today, the Giants were outcoached again, and yet how could they possibly be outcoached by Eberflus, who looked horrific as a defensive coordinator for the Cowboys? He called a horrible game for the Cowboys. And by Schottenheimer, who's a born loser. This guy's been a terrible offensive coordinator his entire career. Yeah, look at the stats. He's a born loser as an offensive coordinator. They are not a good coaching staff, Schottenheimer and Eberflus. They were a joke out there, and somehow we won up them. Brian Daboll, no control over this team, an insane slew of penalties, which we'll get into. And then the single worst defensive coordinator in the NFL, we are now employing him for God knows what reason, because nobody wants to work with Daboll. And so once again, we're sitting here out coached, but at least this time, last time it was by Kingsbury and Quinn. Now who's it by, Nick? Schottenheimer and Eberflus, for God's sake.
I don't know if I want to say that Eberflus outcoached Mike Kafka in the offense.
He didn't.
No, because a lot of those deep shots and yes, 100%. There's no dispute when it comes to Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen playing at that depth with an anticipatory passer like Dak Prescott. Because you watch that, Jake Ferguson just sat right in the middle zones, and the ball was out before Jake Ferguson even turned around. So applaud Dak Prescott for being the quarterback that Dak Prescott's been for the last decade, throwing with anticipation and carving through zone coverage. I get that, right? But when it comes to the Eberflus point, Mike Kafka, like, I can't wait to watch the All-22 here, even though it's going to be painful. But I think a big reason why Russell Wilson was so great in this game was because of the route concepts that the Giants were running against that defense. And they were clearing out, because that's a cover two, that's a too high shell. And they also switch it up middle of the field, close, cover three. And they were just splitting the seams, dude. Like that Russell Wilson, he doesn't really target the middle of the field. Throw it out the window, Dan. That is thrown out the window, because he was targeting the middle of the field.
Intermediate
and the deep. Yeah, he still doesn't. No, I mean, dude, he was attacking. When like, a lot of those routes, man, it was deeper, outside.
But yeah,
of course. But those seams were being stretched by Wan'Dale Robinson. There's a lot to dive into with that. But if we want to stick with the Shane Bowen point, man, look, the New York Giants have an uber talented defensive front. They have one of the best defensive fronts in the league when it comes to the pass rush. Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. We've talked ad nauseum about this, right? And I think they have an underrated secondary. I think Cordell Flott played well today. Drew Phillips played well. They took some penalties. I get that. The safeties didn't do anything egregious. They had some penalties as well. This is an undisciplined team. We have to come to grips with that, and we have to accept that. But the New York Giants, man, this defense is successful. Like the success of this defense is contingent on Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence and these players making plays. It's never the coach putting them in these optimal positions that are successful. Like, I feel like the Giants' defensive success, insofar as they ever have any, is really just because the players are that good. It has nothing to do with this coordinator being a successful coordinator who is maximizing and optimizing his players on the field. It's just because Brian Burns is a freaking stud. Kayvon Thibodeau is a budding star. Abdul Carter is still very difficult to block. We haven't even really seen that much from Dexter Lawrence, and he's arguably the best defensive player we have. So it's a net negative, but at this point, what are you going to do with Shane Bowen? You're not going to fire him midseason, and if you do, who are you going to promote? Would it be Marquand Manuel? Would it be the defensive backs coach? Would it be Andre Patterson? I don't know. But all I know is the Giants just surrendered 40 points, and their offense gave the effort of a lifetime, and it's just wasted. And the Giants are 0-2. And how many games now at this point, Dan, has Brian Daboll won in the division since he's come here?
It's an insanely low number. I have it somewhere.
He beat Philadelphia once. He beat Philadelphia once. He beat, I think, Washington, 3 times, and then he tied once in 2022 and 2023.
3-16-1 or something. I have it somewhere in our document.
It's not good, man. And I would love, and I know the chat is on fire right now with this, and I agree. And it didn't work out for personality reasons, which is also an issue when it comes to Brian Daboll. And this isn't a pile on Daboll moment, but Wink Martindale with this type of talent, man. I would love to see it.
Never happen. Yeah.
It would never happen, man.
The game would be over if Wink was the coordinator. That they would have 14 seconds left, and he'd be putting everyone on line of scrimmage saying, "Good luck, Dak. You're not going to have time to do anything. Don't just sit there and give 18 yards of cushion." I can't dude, that play is just ingrained in my memory. I'll never forget that play. It's so frustrating because after all that happened, Nick, and they should have won this game 10 times over. I've a receipt of it, a text with my brother, just for everyone who will be like, "No, that's not you, Dan." You know me, Nick. I'm always about going for it on fourth down situations. I said they should have kicked that field goal on that 4th and 2. I knew it in the moment. I felt it. I felt they should have kicked that field goal. Game's over if Dable goes for that field goal there and doesn't go for it on that 4th down. Also, obviously, we get the ball down to the 1.5 yard line, and James Hudson has that fucking god-awful penalty. Sorry to curse. Has that ridiculous penalty, his 4th of the drive, setting all-time records for the most penalties taken in a drive. What an absolute loser he is. He's a hothead. "Oh, we wanted to bring him in because he's got a mean streak on tape." Great. You want a mean streak? Look at what a mean streak did. It killed you. It lost you this game. It took 4 points off the board that would have won them the game. It's another way they lost the game with this so-called mean streak. And what? Oh, he's got a mean streak. The mean streak isn't helping us. He sucks as an absolute offensive tackle. He does nothing in the run game, and he sucks as a pass protector. So what's the mean streak worth? The mean streak is worth nothing, actually. It actually hurt us more than anything. But I digress on that point because I wanted to make a further point about what you were talking about when it comes to just overall the coaching on this team and the defense, because you made a great point. Even last year, when I went back and looked at it, like the Bengals game, probably Bowen's quote unquote best game. Honestly, dude, our front four just dominated their O-line that game. That wasn't like Bowen doing anything special. He's just sitting there and our front four dominated that game. And you're right. In this game, we'll go back and confirm it on the tape. But I think what you said is probably correct, Nick. And what you said is that we'll find examples of Mike Kafka out scheming Nate. Out scheming Eberflus on the other side of the ball. What's his first name again? Matt Eberflus, out scheming out Matt Eberflus on the other side of the ball. Probably will find that. We'll probably find plenty of examples of that. We'll find none from Shane Bowen because Shane Bowen sucks. He genuinely sucks. And I hate to say this about a coordinator, but the question you asked is a good one, Nick. What do the Giants do from here with this guy as their coordinator? Because if you fire him in season, two things are happening. One, you have his scheme no matter what rest of year. That's just life in the big leagues. Like, we're stuck with this scheme. But you may have somebody who calls it a little differently. But the question I have is, Nick, does anyone have experience as calling defensive games? Are we just going to put someone, if you fire this dude who at least has experience calling games, Shane Bowen, you put someone else in, we could be looking at like some serious, like, I don't know, like problems with communication, just problems that would arise from someone without experience calling a game.
Yes, 100%, man. And even to compound this issue, the Shane Bowen problem that we have, Darius Muasau went down in this game, and maybe he'll be back. It was a concussion. And we're sitting here, and the problem with this is not because Darius Muasau is a superstar. It's that the loss of Darius Muasau means something to this defense because Micah McFadden is already gone, and I don't want to see 49 Chris Board or Ty Summers or whoever the hell the Giants are going to throw out there, the Sways, Bowman, those types of players play defensive snaps next to Bobby Okereke because the linebackers in this defense are already stressed enough, man. And that's going to affect your nickel packages. It's going to affect your base packages. It's the spine of this defense is a problem. And we saw that on that 30-yard Javonte Williams touchdown run where I'm not 100% sure. They brought the motion guy over and then they pulled the backside guard and they filled. And I think it was Board. He set to the outside and then Okereke got sealed and there was just nobody there to fill. Yep. The run fit was just completely off. And that's going to be a problem all year that teams are going to exploit. And then maybe that will lead to a more loaded box in a Shane Bowen-esque defense that we saw at the end of the 2024 season. Hell, maybe that might be great. So we don't see safeties at freaking 30, 35 yards of depth, right? But at the end of the day, this is just another problem that this coordinator who is already in over his head is going to have to deal with.
Already in over his head. Again, I want to stress, we don't know that he did anything in Tennessee. That could have just been Vrabel's defense, and he was just a placeholder there. We just don't know when they were the number one ranked defense there. They also had a lot of talent that year. But that's aside. The point you're making is a good one, Nick. And what I am concerned with most is, I mean, I look at this game, and it's like before the fourth quarter, where obviously it did look like the Giants defense was gassed. The Giants defense really only gave up 2 total plays in the entire game and had a chance to lose this game. It was the Williams run you referenced, and it was that Lamb big catch over the top, which, by the way, they diagnosed pretty well, but Okereke is just so slow at this point. He couldn't get into that pass lane, even though he knew
that
what
was
coming.
Great throw, too.
It was a great throw, dude, but he looked so slow on that play, Okereke. You'll watch it on tape tomorrow, Nick, and you can debate it with me if you disagree, but I think on the broadcast, I thought he was chugging slow, and then the very next play to Ferguson, he looked even slower. He's played 100% of snaps. We need him. He's smart in this defense. It is what it is, but we need an infusion of talent at linebacker badly this offseason, and it's become dire at this point. I know it's not a position that Shane really likes to emphasize, whatever. The teams that have these speedy linebackers and talent at linebacker seem to me like some of the best defenses in the NFL when I watch them on Sundays. We just don't care. We don't prioritize it, whatever it may be. But point being, like, our defense played great until it got tired, and like this should have never been a game. You said it first, like the Giants deserve to win this game, maybe you said, and you didn't want to say that. You didn't want to commit to that, Nick. I'll commit to it. The Giants were the better team by far today. To me, they deserved to win this game. They were the better offense and they were the better defense until the defense got tired at the end. And obviously Dak cooked in the fourth quarter. I get it. But part of that was just A, the defense was gassed, and B, Bowen's scheme is an absolute nightmare and a disaster. Like you said, like it's just reliant on these players making plays throughout the entire game. So it's just a frustrating loss for me, Nick. And I think it's honestly my most frustrating as a fan since at least minimum 2022, maybe 2023, you can say, like when the Giants lost 40-0 to the Cowboys in week 1. But like I was kind of aware, like it's not that I was aware that game was a blowout. This is a game they should have won. We should be coming away 1-1 going into next week against the Chiefs. And we're just not. And there's so many positives to take away from this game that I just feel like we now just, I don't want to say overlook, Nick, but we're just like not focused on it. We just spent 15 minutes on the negatives when this was a game where Russ had his career game, like literally the best game individually of his career. I know he made 2 mistakes and he didn't have a good overtime. I get it. But besides that, and even including that, it was the best game of his career. If you look at the numbers, we had Neighbors who looked like one of the 3 best receivers in the NFL. That first touchdown catch he made was the best catch anyone made all week. Honestly, not that AJ Brown 4-yarder. Wandell, he's a vertical threat. We talked all offseason, Nick. What's it going to be like if we can get Wandell going as a vertical threat? He's a vertical threat. Scattaboo, it's not the future. He's now. He played great in this game. Look at all these positives, man. Marcus Mbow comes into the game for James Hudson and looks pretty damn good on broadcast, if not flawless on broadcast. Another positive, right? O-line overall, even outside of Mbow. Felt like we had plenty of time all day in the pass game, right, Nick? Obviously, the run game is what it is. We're not generating anything from that standpoint. But pass game, pass protection, it felt a lot like early last year, first 6 games where we're giving our quarterback a lot of time. Drew Phillips, another phenomenal game from him. That tackle, the interception, just how he played on another pass breakup. I thought even like to some extent the safeties played a little bit better this week, Holland specifically. But all of these positives just get buried because we lose again. And now we're 0-2 for the 10th time in the last 13 years.
10th time in the last 13 years. It's devastating, really. It's upsetting. There's so many positive takeaways, as you said, man, and I'm glad you ran through a lot of them. And it just, the fact that they found a way to lose this game, though, man, when you had that after, like that final 3 minutes of the game was one of the most exciting 3 minutes, I think, in my professional career. This was one of the most exciting games that I've covered as a professional, whatever the hell I am. And it sucks that they ended up coming away with an L here because, again, they have not defeated. We don't need to go through. They haven't defeated Dak Prescott since his rookie season. They haven't won in 9 outings in Dallas, and here it was right in their hands. And of course, man. And the bow point is excellent too, man, because Hudson, I don't think I've ever seen somebody melt down like that. And we've seen some tackles melt down. We had Eric Flowers. We had Evan Neal. We've had some disgusting meltdowns when it comes to performance on the field. This one was a discipline thing, but who the hell is surprised? This is who James Hudson III was all throughout training camp. He was fighting with Kayvon Thibodeau. He was fighting with Brian Burns. He was never a disciplined player. He loves to hold. The whole slapping on the head thing, that's one that I see a lot of people freaking out about. That's a play that I see all the time now. But the defensive end slipped, and he's not the type of player who can adjust his punch when he's doing that, and he hits him in the head and he takes the penalty. And then some of those unnecessary roughness penalties too on the quarterback. I thought the Roy Robertson Harris one was ridiculous, but at this
Terrible
point,
call.
but this is
The
football
rules
now.
official. Yeah, this is football now.
This is football now. If you hit a quarterback and he releases the football, you need to freaking levitate above that quarterback and ensure that you don't land on him somehow, even though you're trying your best and damnedest to hit him before he throws the football. It's an impossible task to be a modern defender in the NFL, and it's wildly frustrating. But these calls are usually consistent. But I mean, it's this wasn't the ref's fault. This is just another meltdown and another coaching and the Giants just not being on the same page and not being able to win, because this is what like good football teams do. They find ways to win these really tight games, and the Giants, say what you want about how they performed today, and we've praised them, we've criticized them. They can't find ways to close these games out, Dan, and that is a sign of a bad football team and a poorly coached football team, especially when it's coupled with 16 penalties or whatever the hell it was.
Right. I mean, that's you nailed it. Like, I don't want to blame the refs for this game. If you've listened to this podcast long enough, for those listening now, we're not big on that. We don't do it often. We've done it a few times at most. This is not a game that it has to be really egregious for me to put it. And this was more of a game to me, Nick, where I felt like the refs you get some ref crews that just want to make the game about themselves. This was one of those crews that wanted to make the game about themselves. If I'm a crew, like I just don't like regardless, it doesn't matter if the calls are going for me or against me. And it does feel like we got a few more against us probably than for us in this instance. Right. But like, regardless of who's getting a little bit more or less, I hate the crews that want to take over and they want to make it about themselves. They're just firing flags off. Like, when I hear a rules official say, honestly, he did everything he could, that defender, to kind of not put his body, and then they call the flag anyway. It's like, you are going out of your way to throw this flag right now. And that's something I don't want to see. I'll be honest, on the flip side of that, I didn't think that was offensive pass interference by George Pickens, and we got away with a big one there. So it's like, it goes both ways kind of in that regard. I'm not going to say that, Nick, but I will say this about the Hudson meltdown that you referenced earlier. That legitimately took 4 points off the board, which ultimately decided the game. The Giants win the football game if that doesn't happen, among other things. But the bigger question for me is, Nick, after we see Marcus Bowe step in for him, and almost definitely, we'll confirm it on the film this week because it might not be the case, but it's almost definitely that he played better than Hudson. Like, just taking away the penalties, just like straight up non-penalties, they are a major factor. But if you just took those away, why did the coaching staff play Hudson? That's the question I have. Like, you saw what Bowe gave you in camp. You saw what Bowe gave you in the preseason in real action. I get it. It's a risk, but it's not like you were taking a huge leap. Like, you watched Hudson on tape last week, and it's almost like, it's very troubling. It's almost like, oh, we paid him the $6 million or whatever it is, we have to play him.
It's a combination of that. That's definitely a thing. And Joe Shane wants the guy that he paid to play, and him being a veteran also helps. And Marcus Bowe getting a late start to left tackle. There's a few different things. I think you can talk yourself into that being the first decision for this coaching staff. But now that we saw, and again, we'll substantiate this on the All 22, Marcus Bowe performed what seems like pretty well at left tackle. There's no reason to go back to James Hudson and put Marcus Bowe on the bench. If Marcus Bowe can handle that until Andrew Thomas comes back, I want Marcus Bowe starting. I want Marcus Bowe not to be the swing tackle. I want Marcus Bowe maybe to kick to right tackle, and then we put Jermaine Illuminor inside if Jermaine Illuminor is comfortable handling that, because I understand that he's been working at right tackle this entire. So it really depends on Jermaine at this point. But my biggest issue with this Giants offensive line is the interior guards, right? If James Hudson isn't in the equation, so you could put Jermaine maybe at where Greg Van Roten is in C, if he's comfortable with that. Again, Jermaine has done this before in his career, so it would really be contingent on that. But Marcus Bowe, that was impressive. He stepped in there. You didn't really hear much of a peep from him. It's not like he's going up against Micah Parsons, to be fair, though. But it doesn't matter, man. He stepped in there and he stabilized the offensive line. And there were some really freaking solid, intact pockets for Russell Wilson the entire game. Russell Wilson was comfortable. He took those 3 sacks, but he was comfortable that entire game. It was nothing like we saw against Washington, where it was a clean pocket and he was just trying to bail because he's been hit so many times. The Giants were able to keep him on his feet. I felt like John Michael Schmitz had a much better game in this one. I felt like Runyon and GVR still, I got to watch the All 22. There were a few plays where I was like, but overall, the offensive line was a marked improvement right now. So like that's a positive that we can take into Kansas City. Another positive that we haven't even brought up yet that we can take into Kansas City.
It's going to look a lot different, unfortunately, against Kansas City. I just don't think the Giants offense is going to move the ball that well against them, watching the Eagles play them. But it's a different D line, obviously, but it's not about that. It's about where are we at moving forward. And that's the thing. Like, it's so hard to take positives away from a game like this because it's so frustrating. Because one, we know it's very hard for teams to come back from 0-2. Two, we know the Giants are facing a Chiefs team that, look, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist guy, but the NFL probably doesn't want the Chiefs starting 0-3. And I don't think it'll make a difference, but who knows? We'll see. Like, what if the referee crew is a crew that's, has a history? Like, I just want to keep an eye on that type of stuff, to be honest with you, Nick. But point being, despite all that, like despite where they're at from a record standpoint and really from a long-term standpoint, Nick, because I think the sad reality is neither you or I have any confidence that Brian Daboll is the coach the Giants need. And he's going to have a massive turnaround in a variety and multitude of ways for me to believe that. And I don't know where you're at with that, but I know that's where I'm at with it. I know for a fact we don't have the right defensive coordinator in. And I personally don't really believe at all in Joe Shane, regardless of it.
And even say, and again, this is well, we don't even really need to bring it up, but here I am. I'll power through it. Say that Brian Daboll's retained this year. If the Giants win like 6 games, and they're like, who's going to want that defensive coordinator? It's going to be the same. They don't want to jump onto a staff that is a lame duck staff.
Well, that's another good point with DC. But you can get creative, man. Like, that's the only thing that bothers me about that take. I agree with that take, but there are tons of guys, Nick, out there, and I know you will agree with this, that are grinders, hard workers, but they're like quality control guys or something like that, and they could make for amazing coordinators. I see them pop around the NFL. Whoever the Jets have this year as their OC or whatever, like all these types of guys who work for the Lions, like, you need to get creative, get outside the box.
Of course, but it's just taking a risk doing that, right? Because you can end up with Joe Judge doing that, because that's what happened. Like, the Giants took a risk on somebody who never really had the opportunity.
Look at Shane Bowen. Look what happens when you take a known guy.
But Shane Bowen was the Giants' fourth. Like, again, this is all conjecture, but Shane Bowen was like their 4th, 5th option. The Giants didn't want Shane Bowen.
No, they did not. But
yeah, that's why Shane and Daboll were so surprised. Like, oh, this is the guy we're bringing in. Like, oh, he had a good run.
Taken like Jared Mayo. I bet Jared Mayo would have taken the job, like something like that, like just something outside after he got fired, something outside the box, man. Or like, it's just ridiculous to me that this is what they've settled on. But point being, like, it just sucks for me, Nick, because short term they're 0-2. Long term, I don't have faith in the coaching staff. But outside of that, what we saw is the best offensive line performance since early last season. We saw 450 yards in the passing game, something we just don't see. 200-plus yards on 20-plus throws. 2 receivers combined for 300. We don't have that. We don't live a life where receivers go for 300. We haven't had that. When's the last time we had 2 receivers go for 300? I believe it's when Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz were on this roster, and I guarantee you it wasn't any time after that. I would be shocked, but I doubt it. Odell was here, and Shepard and Odell, I don't think they ever did that, really, to be honest. They might have, but I doubt it was 300. And I know for a fact we haven't had that kind of air yards as Russell Wilson did, 200-plus on 20-plus yard attempts. All of these things, man, are just so exciting. Like, but then at the same time, you look at the flip side of it, and there's only been 2 quarterbacks ever to lose a football game with 450 yards, 3 TDs, and 70% completion. And it's Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott back in 2020. And you have all these like crazy stats that are popping out from this game. And there's just so many negatives to the game too.
Like, literally the last time the Giants threw for, I think, more than 385 yards was 2012 or something like that. Eli Manning did it against Tampa Bay. And I looked at the Saints in 2015. He threw for 350 and 5. This was a massive offensive output from the passing attack. And now this is where it gets interesting. First off, just a couple more notes on the passing attack. It really was just Wandale Malik, and then Darius had the 150-yard catch, and then he had another
great release on that, by the way.
Amazing release, and he also he did a great job drawing, I think, 2 pass interferences, so great on Darius Slayton for that. But you don't even see any of the other receivers, right? And then tight end wise, you had Theo Johnson catch 4 for 34. I was like, that's fine. And then a bunch of running backs had targets, but like, this is a very concentrated target share right here for the Giants, and that's all well and good, but they don't really run the football. Like, the Giants still can't run the football, dude. It still seems to lack a creative measure. And the Giants, and I appreciate that they did this, since they are struggling to find any kind of way to run the football. They brought in Jackson Dart for 3 plays
to help the run game.
And it led to the GT counter read led to a 24-yard scamper by Cam Scatterbo, where he didn't even have to do anything. He just hit the hole. The hole
was wide open.
Was wide open. And if Jackson wanted to keep that, he had Bellinger and Theo Johnson lead blocking to the Pullers side. So it's like away from where the Pullers originally were. They weren't on that side. They pulled towards Cam Scatterbo. But they still can't run the football, man. And I don't know. I don't know. Like Dable said, this could be situational, and we'll take it game by game. It does seem like Cam Scadaboo is the lead back now. Like Tyrone Tracy Jr. is taking kickoff returns, gets 5 carries in this game. That's something to monitor going into Kansas City.
That is interesting with Tracy taking the kickoff returns, especially. But I think a good point, and it's so good to have Greg Olsen on the call. I think he's one of the best in the game. And he made a great point. Like everything we always ask for from our offensive coordinator, from Kafka, or whoever it may be, if it was Dable, Asher calling plays, is, set up your run, set up your plays, make the plays look exactly the same, and then do something different. And he brought that up on that Scadaboo run. He said the Giants showed something like this earlier, and they went with that. And then they set it up to get this play. And it was a great job by Kafka. And I think a lot of people have discussed it because outside of all the flowers we've given the offense, and it's rightfully so, the offense was phenomenal in this game. 500 yards of offense. You should be able to win a football game like that, to be quite frank. They were bad in the red zone again. And I think the red zone is a little bit, at least right now, I think they'll get into a better groove, Nick. But I almost feel like when I watch the red zone offense so far, these first 2 games, it's a little bit of like trying to do too much in the red zone. A little bit of time, let's get Russ on the boot. Let's get this little on. I would like to see just more plays where they're just having him drop back and like hit a timing route with Malik Neighbors and just throw the ball up for Neighbors, because Neighbors makes insane adjustments to the ball. And we saw that in camp, by the way, and they just haven't seen it yet in the red zone so far this season.
Well, just going back off the Washington tape, they couldn't really, because there was 2 sets of eyes on him, right? And when you
even if it's for Slayton, by the way, I'm okay with that.
That's something that maybe they can look into. I think Theo Johnson should be, but they had plays designed last week. He dropped it. This week they had a play designed to Theo, but it was a read play, and they handed the football off instead to Scadaboo. Right. But like if you watch the backside of it, Theo Johnson is releasing in a route, so it was an RPO where Russ handed the football off. But you need somebody else to step up in the red zone, because the Giants, if they're doubling Malik Neighbors inside out over top trail, whatever they're doing, you can't run the football either. So like, what do you like? You're relying solely on Russell Wilson, and then like a 5'7" Wan'Dale Robinson and like Darius Slayton and Theo Johnson struggles. So I can see why it's clunky, and their timing was so off in week 1. I want to see the all 22 in week 2 to see if that was the case here. But last week their timing was shit.
That's fair. We can look at the all 22, because I do agree last week timing was an issue. We'll see what the issue was this week, but obviously there were a lot of issues when it came to the red zone offense.
Well,
but
it was like Wan'Dale got down to like the 2-yard line or something, and then they had the freaking stupid penalty, man, that James Hudson.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just like, why are you slamming? Like I get Sam Williams.
They would have scored there too. Scadaboo would have got it in.
I think so too. Yeah. And like little play, like there are so many plays that we're going to identify on all 22 and be like, if that didn't happen, if that changed just a little bit, this game is different. I know you could do that for every game, but so many mistakes just compounded on top of each other. And it led to just removing 3 points here, 4 points there. And that in a game like this is is all it takes, man.
Yeah, you're right. A couple more notes on 2 things passing game wise. Nick, we lived this life for the last 5 or 6 years, and we've said, like, I just wish we could get to a point where we can be this team that's attacking downfield through the air, taking these shot plays. The Giants were that team this week, man. The Giants this week had 2 of the top 4 players in air yards. Malik Neighbors had 263 air yards, more than any receiver this week. Wan'Dale Robinson was 4th after Rome Odunze and Brian Thomas Jr. with 162 air yards. Like, all that we asked for, we're getting now from that standpoint. We also said, another thing we said this offseason is we watched the tape, and people gave us so much shit for this, Nick, so much shit for this. But we said we watched the tape of Wan'Dale Robinson at Kentucky and how they were using him with Liam Cohen. And we said, this guy can be a threat in the vertical game. And what happens in this game? He had 162 air yards in this game. His previous career high was 108. And that is the only other time he was above 90 air yards in a game. He almost doubled that in one game. And so a lot of the prior things that we believed in came true. Like we can get an air, we can get a deep passing game going with Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson can be a factor in that deep passing game. So there are a lot of things that I want to take away positively in this game. It's just so disappointing that the record doesn't, justify any of it.
And that's football, man. That's football.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I'm disappointed as well. I think every Giant fan is. Hopefully they can carry, I don't know if momentum is the right word. Hopefully they can show up home opener with the same type of vigor that they had here and go out and challenge the Chiefs. Is it crazy to think that's a winnable game? I know it's early right now, but
it's a winnable game for sure.
But like the Chiefs haven't really looked all that great, and they're throwing to Tyquan Thornton at a nice touchdown in this game, and like Hollywood Brown and players like that. But it's Andy
they're
Reid.
injured. They're banged up at receiver.
Yeah.
I think it's a winnable game, but I think we're going to have to see something from Shane Bowen to win that game. Like he's going to have a career game as a coordinator, because if he just sits back and does the same bullshit that he does and just relies on the players, we're not going to win the game. We need to win that game defensively.
That's the thing, though, because I think Shane Bowen, for all of his faults, he's going to sit on top. And he's not allowing anything.
He's definitely going to play the same game plan.
But it's the same. But like the thing with Pat Mahomes is he's going to carve, and we can talk about this later in this week. He's going to carve through those intermediate zones, because you might as. It seems like sometimes the Giants don't even have anybody in the intermediate zones. Like they're just so wide open.
Yeah. So open. The space these quarterbacks have to work with Jaden Daniels and Dak is insane. That it's sickening to watch. It just doesn't make any sense. And even if you want to play those safeties deep, Nick, at least press the corners up sometimes, or flood this, like do something. Get the linebackers up on the line of scrimmage, or your second level defenders up on the line of scrimmage. Like it's just the same shit over and over again.
They tried to press up in this game a little
sometimes,
bit. And to the credit of Pickens and CD, they were able to win on quick game. And the Giants, not like they were getting I didn't think the Giants corners were getting beat up in this game. Flott was in phase a lot. Flott made a lot of good plays. I felt like Flott looked fine in this game, even though he surrendered some plays. Banks did not look terrible. Adebo, he surrendered some, but Adebo's handling assignments where it's just him and CeeDee Lamb sometimes. And then sometimes he had that underneath help with Bobby Okereke. Dak Prescott's so damn precise with the football that he puts it exactly where it needs to be. But it's not even like this was a personnel issue for the Giants. It didn't seem like, right? Even though the Giants were losing some one-on-one matchups, it was just their guys making plays. But again, it just goes back to can the coordinator throw a curveball, or is all he does is throw this fastball? Can he throw a changeup? Can he do anything, right? To put these guys, these uber talented players the Giants have in positions to be successful. Just doesn't seem like it.
And you said it best, because Kafka has done it, and that's the difference. And a good coach should do it. And the Giants are just constantly getting out-coached by these teams. But I did want to say one more note here. The 264 total air yards that Malik Neighbors had was the third most by any receiver in a game since 2022, and the third most from a Giants receiver since Odell did it in 2014, 2015. That's courtesy of Doug Analytics. There's a lot of stats that I've brought up. WBG84 had a few. I don't have them all in front of me right now, but we credit them throughout every show, including this one. So check those people out on Twitter or wherever you can find their work. I will say this, Nick. I did feel like the defense, despite playing a phenomenal game for most of this game, and as I mentioned, really for a large portion of this game, Nick, they literally gave up only 2 plays. It was the Javonte run, and it was the early Lamb bomb. Other than that, most of the Cowboys scoring drives were just penalties. Just simply dip PPI all the way down the field. Here's another roughing for 15, and now they're at the 32. There's just a slew of insane amounts of penalties to give the Cowboys points. But with that said, there was a point where the Giants defense did, in a lot of ways, I think, just slow down and get broken. I'm trying to find the stats now. I just had it in front of me. Dak Prescott in the fourth quarter and overtime combined went 15 of 20 for 187 yards and 1 touchdown, no interception. So it did feel like at some point they did break. And part of that for me is the Cowboys went to a backup center, which I thought would help us. I'll say this. I know he had offseason surgery. A little bit of a slow start to training camp. Dable took it very easy on him. He didn't practice a lot of days. I haven't seen it's been unfortunate, but we really haven't seen the Dexter Lawrence we're used to in these first 2 games. And I think it's made a difference.
It certainly has made a difference. I know in Washington, there was a lot of hands on the guy. Maybe it happened in this same one because, again, Shane Bowen, the fronts that he employs, it's different than Wink Martindale. It doesn't create as many one-on-one matchups. There are certain things that he does in some situations to create those one-on-one matchups when he presses up in those 3rd and 6+ situations. But I still we haven't seen that yet. I see plays down the line of scrimmage with Dexter Lawrence where he's making plays in the run game, but those dominant pressures to sacks to quarterback hits is something that, I have not seen. And he was testy, Dexy, in the post game. Have you watched that yet? Yeah, he was testy. I think it was with Pat Leonard, so he probably might have had a problem with him.
What was he?
He was. I don't know what you're trying to dig right now. What you're trying to get out of me? He was saying stuff like that, and he was really testy with the media.
He's never really liked that either.
Yeah, no, he was upset. It seemed like.
I think he'll get back in shape and he'll play himself into it. think that's maybe part of the problem, but he just doesn't look like himself out there right now, which is a disappointing thing because I feel like if we got prime Dexter Lawrence in this game or what we've been used to, we win this game there too. Like we talk about all the penalties and all this stuff. I don't think it matters. I think he makes a play or two down the stretch and we win this game because for all the crap we want to give Shane Bowen at the same time, this pass rush any of those guys could have made a big play to stop the game. They almost did, by the way. That tip that Dexter almost intercepted, the game would have been over. But just a couple more plays like that, and we would have won this game despite how bad Shane Bowen is as a defensive coordinator. So it's not all on Bowen. At some point, it is a little bit on the player, or a good amount on the players as well. And I just feel like they were a little gassed. And, they played, 87 snaps, I think, something defensively. Like so it's to be expected. But an update on another thing that we've been tracking here, Nick, that I wanted to discuss a little bit and see your thoughts are. This is, I believe, from Doug Analytics and Next Gen Stats. Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter played just 32 of 83, 38% of snaps together, which actually was an increase from last week. And then all four played together on 12% of snaps, which also was an increase from last week. So they're still kind of, and then I think it was 11 snaps Banks replaced Flott for. So that was pretty similar to last week, I think, on a percentage basis. Are we ever going to see more snaps these guys on the field? Like at this point, he's pressed, right? If Musal's out and McFadden's out, what the hell is this guy going to do?
Yeah, we saw some Abdul Carter and Brian Burns at the second level playing linebacker in certain packages. I know against Washington, a lot of it was tempo. And I felt like Cliff Kingsbury did a good job. It's like, 51's off the field. Let's go up to, and they just wanted to use tempo anyway to gas the Giants defense out. I don't know if that was exactly the case in this one, but as Shane Bowen said, I'm sure we'll see a little bit more Abdul Carter. You'd like to see them all out there, but they're trying to keep them fresh through these games. Golston is the guy who comes in, and there were a couple plays in the run game that I felt like Golston looked solid in. We'll see on the all-22. It looked better than what we saw in week 1. But overall, those are your best players right there, man. That's the catalyst of the defense. Those are the guys who are going to make the plays. I felt like Brian Burns and KT looked very good. I felt like Abdul Carter had a few plays where he got an assist on the Drew Phillips interception. He's blitzing, coming from everywhere, and and making plays. So I've a lot of praise for the edge group, but again, I want to see it just because of what you said a little bit earlier, like what exactly happened on some of these plays where Dak was able to hit that back foot and fire the football on target.
Yeah.
And that is something MJ just brought this up in the chat. We're not blaming refs here. We're not ref blamers. But I do feel like Abdul Carter gets held on almost every freaking play.
There were a lot of holds that weren't called. I mean, I'm sure, to be fair, the Giants had some holds that weren't called, I guess, on Dallas.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not focusing as much on those as I am ours. But even the Javonte run on like that 2nd and 25, that was a hold that just wasn't called. And there were multiple times it felt like the Giants got held and it just wasn't called. Maybe eventually those will get called, but it's weird to me, Nick. Look, overall, I would prefer an officiating crew that doesn't call a lot of holds and doesn't call a lot of calls. But if you're going to set the tone like these refs did in this game, where they're throwing an insane slew of flags, everything possible pass interference is a pass interference, everything possible roughing is a roughing, well, then you better call every hold that's possible because you set that tone. That's the game you're calling. You're calling a very ticky-tack game. Fine, but be consistent with it. That's the problem I have with it more than anything else.
And a lot of these hold or these non-hold calls, like it's Carter has the guy completely beat. I saw this against Washington too.
Yeah.
He has him completely beat, and then the guy's like grabbing onto his hip or something, or like his leg, and he just holds him up long enough to allow the quarterback to get rid of the football. And I saw that often in these last 2 games, specifically against Abdul Carter. And those are the types of calls where it's like, sometimes, if you get your hands inside and you hold, that's fine. Like no one really complains if those are not called. Like that's just good blocking. You keep the guy in front of you. But if you're beat and then you're holding, that should be flagged.
Agreed. And by the way, Nick, and for everybody listening, if you felt like the Giants are the most unlucky team in the NFL and you've just been living this life, for the most part, it's probably conjecture. It's probably just, we're in this bubble. We're biased. But there is some stats, Nick. There is some evidence, tangible evidence to support that the Giants are one of the most unlucky teams in NFL history when it comes to losing by field goals. After reviewing NFL records, this is according to Grok. Someone pointed this out. I saw this on Twitter. The Giants have conceded 60-plus yard field goals. You know how hard it is? These are not supposed to be made with ease. Well, if it's Brandon Aubrey, they are. Some idiot coordinator for the Giants decided, I'll just give 18 yards of cushion and let Brandon Aubrey tee off on a 65-yarder in a dome. But outside of Brandon Aubrey, these aren't supposed to be gimmies. But the Giants have allowed 4 60-yard field goals to lose games in the final seconds, final 10 seconds of a game. Jake Elliott in 2017.
I wanted to try to name him. Jake
Yeah.
Elliott was definitely one. Graham Gano in 2018.
63-yarder.
Yeah.
When he was on the Panthers.
Those are the only two that are really, those were the two that I had.
Greg Joseph of the Vikings. Remember we lost that game in the regular season, the Vikings?
Joseph with the Vikings. I do remember.
Not even in the NFL. Some of these guys aren't like Joe's not even in the NFL anymore. And then
Jake
Brandon
Elliott,
Aubrey.
140 pounds too.
And this sets the record according to Grok. And who knows if Grok is true. I'm just blindly trusting AI at this point, which is a microcosm of what's to come in our future. But not me, hopefully, but the general public. But according to Grok, that's the most any team has ever allowed in the history of the NFL. Awesome. We just live a life where we just watch 60-plus yarders in the final seconds of a game to lose games as fans. And it's just sickening, man. And I think that some of those were early season, too. This was obviously week 2.
Yeah, no, it's tough, man. And that's one of those things I was like, there's no way Aubrey's missing this kick.
No, we knew it's a chip shot at 64 for him.
And then the Giants were able to have 2 possessions offensively in overtime. So that's where it's like, in crunch time, I don't want to sit here and bash the offense, but you need to finish. You need to execute.
Yeah, Russ had mistakes in overtime.
Game. You need to execute the entire game. And it's a big reason why we lost this football game was because of that. And also the kickoff return, they surrendered a decent return to Jalen Tolbert on their Dallas Cowboys last drive in regulation as well. It's like, let's contain a little bit better there, Gabriel.
They were okay in general there, though. I feel like
I thought so too. Yeah.
Our especially our receiving. I thought we got some good field position from Tracy in this game as the returner there, despite a weird role for him that was kind of unexpected for us.
It is, and I like Tyrone Tracy Jr. a lot. But I can't deny that Cam Scadaboo just has a certain energy.
Yeah, he's got a good energy.
Like he's just got something.
Yeah. I want Tracy out there still too, though, because I think Tracy, especially if you can just give him something in the run game as a block from a blocking standpoint.
But you limit his role, and the first play of the game you give to Devin. There's something weird there, right?
You know what? That is weird. Yeah,
that's a little weird, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how they're working that, to be quite frank, but it is definitely something to keep an eye on, that running back rotation. I was excited about Scadaboo, though. I thought he looked good in this game, and I thought we said it last game, like we saw better bursts from him than the preseason, so we were excited about that. But yeah, man, you're right. Like the thing is this, like in overtime, obviously the first play I thought was a fluke play, that Russell Wilson, like 17-yard loss on a fumble. I think we would have won the game right there on that drive. The last one, he made a mistake. Like the pocket condensed on him. He just chucked the ball up for Neighbors, and it was stupid, and he threw an interception. But he's allowed to make one mistake. Like that's the thing. This game, the people who are blaming Russ for this in this game, you're not going to find me as one of them. And I blamed him last week. All week, I said how bad he was. We pointed out in the film. I said I'll be harsh on him, but I'm not going to blame him for making one mistake, because the Giants wouldn't even be in this game without Russell Wilson. They wouldn't even be close. They lose this game by 3 scores. That's how individually well he played in the regulation.
Yeah, Ben Eris brought up a good point, and he's right. Tracy did kind of call out the play calling.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's obviously what it is. Yes.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes, I love this chat. You guys are awesome.
I don't love that though, that we're that kind of team, but good call by you, Ben Harris.
Well, you keep things in house. I get it. You do not give the media, like, look, that happens. Like I'm in this Giants media bubble. I understand it. That happens. We all write stories about it, and that creates negative energy.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. And maybe he made that made a point of that behind the scenes, which would be good. Actually, a sign of leadership. I'm on board with that. Despite not a lot of accountability when it comes to Brian Daboll as a head coach, in my mind at least. But
I wonder what happened when they pulled Hudson out and then they put him right back in. What was that about? Yeah, I wonder if
Daboll was saying to get him out, and then maybe there was a miscommunication.
Brasillo might have just like, no, like leave him in there. Like maybe they didn't think like Mbow was ready. I'm right. I don't know exactly,
but he was ready, which is good, because now we don't have to see Hudson ever again on this team. And just a total waste of money by Joe Schoen and a terrible contract. We'll get into some of his other contracts later. Not looking good for Mbow so far. Joe Schoen so far in his.
The Shanes here are not doing well. The Shanes here
it's not
a good Schoen combo.
No, not for us at least. But I think it's somebody in the chat, MJ, said Hudson pulled himself out and then the players sent him back in. That was weird.
I thought I saw Daboll like saying get him out, but
I saw Daboll say get him out. I also saw Daboll after the 4th down that they didn't convert in the red zone yelling at Kafka about the play call. Somebody put that one on Twitter. It's just a classic Daboll, just goes off on his coaches, just yelling on the sideline.
It was a little odd and
sucks.
I didn't want to cut you off there. Sorry, but
no, it's okay.
I'm glad Greg Olsen acknowledged it why didn't you high low to the outside there? If you're going to roll
know.
Russ to the right and you have that running back, why don't
Didn't
you
like
high
that
low
either.
it and really
That's a
stress?
great point.
You ran the dig. Like, why are you doing that if you're trying to hit scat?
Get that defender out of the picture. They
exactly.
They have Neighbors carry the vertical to the pylon. Get the defender out of the picture. It makes no sense. It's a bad call by Kafka and a bad design by Dable and Kafka. Like, why is that in the? I don't even. That's less of a call issue for me and more of a design issue. Like, why is that the design ever?
I mean, it makes me think that the slide underneath wasn't the primary, and maybe Russ just went with it because he thought he saw something. I don't know. Maybe they were. Maybe Dallas was playing Neighbors in a different part of like a different time in the game in the red zone a certain way, and they tried to call a play off that, and then Dallas switched it up into a curveball. That's plausible as well.
Yeah, definitely possible. But the one thing I know is that and it's very rare for me, but at the time I thought we should have kicked that field goal. I just had a gut feel in the moment. I texted my brother about it and I was right. And there's just I am aggressive, but I just knew we weren't converting that. I just can't explain it. We just haven't proven to be this good 4th and 2 team yet this year. We were at times under Kafka, but not this year.
It's that. And it's also, I mean, if last week was indicative of anything, you suck in the red zone.
Right.
So like,
point.
Yeah. And I understand it because like the kickoff rules and everything and how the Giants can just have them pushed back and then rely on their defense, try to force a punt, play the field position game.
Right.
But you haven't proved that you can be a good incompetent red zone offense. So you maybe take the points there, but you know,
normally I'm with it going for it. Not this kind of team right now. We're not proving to be that red zone team yet. We needed the points.
Not at all. We're terrible.
We're making call, especially if the end result is a play call that the announcer, who's a former NFL player, is like, I don't even understand this. Why are you having Neighbors run into this area? So it didn't make any sense. So it is what it is. It may have been just another one of the things, Nick, that cost us this game, sadly, because 1-1 looks so different and feels so different than 0-2, unfortunately for us.
Especially a divisional win on the road.
On the road, it would have been.
Like Dable has to feel like I need to get over this hump to defeat Dallas and to defeat a fully healthy Philadelphia team. And he hasn't. It's been since 2022 and he has not done that.
Yep. It's a nightmare. I don't feel good with Dable at all. I'm just going to be honest.
No, of course not.
I know no one does. I know no one does, but I just don't like the idea of like, where are we at then as a franchise? Because we've given these guys so many resources, man, Shane and Dable, and they're just not getting it done. But we'll see what happens. There's still a long season left. A win against KC can go a long way in getting us back on board. And they played great today. Like if they play like this against KC, they'll be in that game. They might not win the game, but they'll be in the game. And that's all we got such a better product, Nick, than last week. Last week was so demoralizing. We looked like, oh no, is it the same old Giants where like this like sickly uncompetitive team that's going to go like 2 or 3? And today they look like a team that can win football games. They really did. Besides being total idiots from a penalty standpoint, completely poorly coached with arguably the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL. These are all overarching problems that played a role in the loss today. But outside of that, things were good.
And we actually got an interception.
Yeah, and it was a great one. It's a great play by Drew Phillips, a guy who didn't have any interceptions during his college career and makes a play on the football. I'd love to see Newbin making a play and Holland as well when it comes to interceptions, but we're not getting that just yet. We'll have to go back on the tape too, Nick. I want to get to some supers now, but I do want to closely follow Adebo this week. I don't think it was as good a game for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough task. What was he asked to do as well? And how much help did he have? Like all those things we'll go over on the All 22 podcast. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the super, says James Hudson 3, now Hudson the 4 for number of penalties. Yes, and he also said he is excited about Mbow, though. That was wild, man. That was just a crazy sequence of just how many different penalties. And then when it's like, all right, he's still in the game. And then he false starts. I was laughing, dude. I was like, this is insane.
I wasn't laughing.
It's a 16 play drive that the Giants
bring up a funny story that I think there's a chance one person who listens to this podcast will have been there for this story and will know this story. He doesn't listen often. He's a Jets fan, but one of our good mutual friends, shout out Phil Delemy, is a Giants fan, listens to our show, and then sometimes tells him about when I freak out on the show and have a crash out. So he always appreciates that. In college, there was a game, Nick, the Giants played, and I'll never forget it. Kareem McKenzie had like 5 drive-killing penalties in the game, and I just like lost my mind. I was just screaming at Cree McKenzie and almost punched a hole in the wall. Did not actually get a hole through the wall, but was very close to punching a hole through the dorm room wall. And so you just brought that up with Hudson. I was not laughing. I was close to having another Cree McKenzie blow up there, but I kept my composure this time. But I was angry about it. But good point, Isser. It's good that, I mean, the thing is, Nick, which is so sick to even think about, it's probably a blessing in the sky. I almost did that. Another funny thing. I don't even want to get into that, but it's probably a blessing in disguise that Hudson had those penalties, because it allowed this dumbass coaching staff to play Marcus Bow. And now we have Marcus Bow, and now we realize, Marcus Bow is a much better option for Hudson. I'm even at the point, Nick, where like I'm talked off the ledge when it comes to the Andrew Thomas thing. Like I was all week, like if we don't have Thomas, Hudson will ruin another game. I feel like I can now kind of chill on the Thomas thing and be like, you need another week, buddy? Take another week. I'll give Marcus Bow another chance and see what happens. Like, I feel somewhat oddly confident about Marcus Bow out there. And so it allowed us not only to see that, but also to know that, like, even when Thomas comes back, Marcus Bow is one of the 5 best linemen and should be on the field in some capacity, whether that be guard or center or right tackle.
I agree. He's going to be challenged next week because they have some power rushers over there with Chris Jones and then George Karlaftis. And that's the one area that I'm not pessimistic about Bo, but I want to see it be, I want to see him handle power at the NFL.
Fat Man Monahan says, how does one almost punch a hole in the wall? Couldn't break through the wall, didn't actually make contact. I think it was one of those, like, I was winding up hard and just like stopped at the wall and gave it like a little tap, because I knew, like, okay, this is going to be a really stupid decision if I actually punch the hole in the wall for a multitude of reasons. One, I'll probably break my hand. 2, this is a dorm room. I'm a freshman in college. I'm an idiot, and I don't want to explain this to my parents. So those 2 things probably came to mind, but I didn't actually.
Strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I don't think I actually made too much contact with the wall.
Sure,
but the point being, these penalties, man. Yeah, they frustrate me, but maybe a blessing, guys.
Yeah, you're right. 14 penalties for 160 yards. That's insane. Yeah. That's an insane amount of penalties, dude.
I think I saw Dan. Was it Dan Duggan? Where was this? I'm trying to find this. I know I put it somewhere in our doc. The Giants 14 penalties for 160 yards. He said that doesn't tell the full story. This is Dan Duggan. He said they had another 7 that were declined or offset. He said they also had 213 yards of actual yardage when you factor in the swing on the positive offensive plays, i.e. they lost 48 yards of field position on the penalty on the opening kickoff, for example. So it was like 200 plus yards of penalties the Giants lost today. They had to overcome.
It's
inexcusable.
Inexcusable.
It really is. A professional team shouldn't be doing this, and it falls on the coach always.
Oh yeah, of course. He's guy in charge. Townsend, thank you so much, my friend. Gil Martinez.
Before we get to Gil's comment, reminder for those listening and haven't done already, hover your hand over the mouse. Hit the like button right now. Hit the freaking like button. If you've been watching for 50 minutes, for 20 minutes, for 15 minutes, you need to help us grow this show. You need to hit the like button every time you watch. It's a 3-second process for you, and you have no idea what it does for us as far as the algorithm goes and boosting us up. Juice this show up. Hit the like, leave more comments, hit the like, subscribe. Those are 3 things, and we'll need them from you. And if you want to get your question answered, leave a super chat.
Gil, thank you so much, my man. Gil Martinez, playing soft against an opponent that has one of the best kickers in the NFL is a crime. Bowen has shown no creativity. Defense looks as good as it does due to yes, nothing to do with Bowen. Antonio Pierce got a job? Ooh, that's an interesting one. I don't believe he does, and I did see him at training camp too. So he's definitely talking with people in the Giants building. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a job. Off the top of my head, I don't know why else he would be there. So that's an interesting name to monitor.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder who. Like, I just don't know in season if you can do something like that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think maybe he's referring to next season.
I think so
which
as well.
is a disaster because we still have the full season left. But yeah, it is what it is.
You're not going to be doing install for a new defense. You would have to. Yeah, no, you got to prepare for your next opponent. PJ, thank you so much. If someone falls on the ball out of Dak's hands on the last drive, yes, the fumble, man. I was like, bull, you know. That he just fell on top of it. It's like little things like that just I feel like they just don't go the Giants' way, and then like you watch it just keep going. To get back to PJ's question, if someone falls on the ball out of Dak's hands on that last drive of regulation, which should be a coaching rule, the game is over. Can we get Rex Ryan as defensive coordinator? I don't know if John Mara would ever hire Rex Ryan.
A, I don't know if John Mara would ever hire Rex Ryan. B, I think Rex Ryan is holding out to become a head coach still. He believes he should be and can be, and won't take a defensive coordinator job from what I've heard. But man, would he be a great defensive coordinator for the New York Giants. He would have those boys so excited to play for him. He'd have them revved up, and he plays the style. I want that. I've told you this before, Nick. I don't give a F if it leads to some 70-yard touchdowns. I want coordinators like Wink and Rex Ryan. I want attack first, Brian Flores. I want those guys, even guys who, you know what's so funny to me, Nick? I watched the breakdown last week of the Colts versus the Dolphins offense, the Colts defense versus Dolphins offense. By the way, the Colts defense is pretty good again today. Not great, but pretty good. And Lou Anarumo is another guy who played a lot of zone with Cincinnati. And you watch the scheme he used against the Dolphins to confuse Tua. He was doing all sorts of things, putting guys all up on the line of scrimmage, dropping guys, blitzing guys. And it just wasn't what he did something different. Like, why doesn't Shane Bowen ever have unique game plans for each quarterback he faces? It's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure. PJ, that's what PJ said. Thank you, PJ. Jake Andrews, we appreciate you. Soft defense, bad karma, bad coaching. Also, I hate the way Dable toyed around with Dart today. Not the time or situation to try out that kid. I don't know if I agree with that, Jake.
I don't.
They have packages in there that actually I think maybe took Eberflus by surprise and led to a massive positive play that set up one of the Giants' touchdowns. But the rest of your points, I got you.
Yeah, Jake, I'm normally with you on most things, but I will say this. If we don't do what you just said, I don't think we score a touchdown that drive, given how bad our red zone offense is. That what he did allowed that 20-yard scamper by Scadaboo, which set up a touchdown I don't think we would have got. So I disagree on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Hudson, undisciplined all camp. Not fixed then.
Yeah.
Very true. Very
Good point.
true.
So why are they playing him?
Yeah.
They knew what they had.
Gil, thank you so much again, buddy. My dad was punching pillows today. He's too old for this. Giants going to kill him. My son has to go to school tomorrow, losing young and old fans. Well, Gil, we hope they turn that around, man. Really do.
Yeah.
Renee Ruiz, thank you so much, said $118.8 million this offseason for Golston, Adebo, and Holland. It's still early, but how are we feeling about this investment? I'm skeptical.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm not willing to say that I'm out on those. I think Adebo looks like, look, it's difficult to play cornerback. You're not going to be Patrick Surtain, but he's a 25-year-old cornerback who I still think is a plus starter on your roster. So I'm fine with that. Golston, he had some plays that I saw. It's broadcast. We'll have to watch the all 22 for that. And Holland is really difficult to see because you don't see Tyler Nubin and Holland unless they're making open field tackles because they're lined up at such incredible depths. So I didn't like Holland in the first game, though.
Yeah, I think I would say this. I'm very skeptical. I'm with you, Renee. I think that Joe Shane very much used car salesman-esque, just throws money at problems, just does like, oh, I need this right now. I have to fix this. It's just like, oh, I got to make this team a little better. Let's just do what we got. And that's not the best way to play it. Like, not every free agent class is going to have guys that you want to invest in. Adebo, look, you're not going to find a lot of corners hit the open market. I'm fine with that one. Golston, they thought they saw something on tape. They see a lot of tape. I'm fine with that one. Holland, we'll see. That one felt a little off at the time. It felt like they were just like, oh, it's a value, I guess. He's just falling in free agency. We'll see on that one. But they have to make more plays. Like, if you're going to spend $120 million on these guys, we need them to make more plays.
100%. Yeah. And, I mean, they'll have time to do it, but we need to see a little bit more from all three of them, actually. Igor, thank you so much, says, did this game suggest that Wandale is more multifaceted than we thought, and perhaps a solid number 2, or was it a terrible defense? I think Wandale Robinson, Dan, he's a fine offensive weapon that you have. He's a fine receiver to have. But again, he has his limitations that have shown up all throughout his career here with the New York Football Giants. But you get the football in his hands, he can do something. He was vertically attacking because I don't exactly know what the Dallas Cowboys were doing on the back end, but I have to imagine the Giants were probably using switch releases, releasing wide outside the numbers, and then Dallas was probably favoring coverage towards Malik Neighbors wherever he was lined up, and it stressed the seams, and then Wandale can run up the seams and be quick and catch the football and do that, and Russell Wilson's quick enough to diagnose it and attack. I don't think Wandale did really anything in this game that like super surprised me and did anything that was like, oh wow, I didn't know he had that in his wheelhouse. Like I appreciate that he had his career breakout game here, but I always thought this was within his range of outcomes.
Yeah, we said as much. We kept saying it over and over because we saw it on the Kentucky tape. But I think I'll say this about Wan'Dale. While despite not having that catch radius for a quarterback like Russ, this is probably, I think this might be the best we ever see of Wan'Dale for as long as Russ is the quarterback, because Russ, especially on those deep throws, those are an insanely good amount of ball placement. Even if you watch a lot of NFL quarterbacks that aren't Russ, they're like known as better than Russ, like by far. They're not throwing the same deep ball as Russ. Russ throws a better deep ball than just about all of them, besides Burrow and maybe Herbert, like, and Lamar, I guess, because like he actually puts a lot of air under it and just leads the receivers into space and lets them run under it. He throws them open, and it's great. And you even hear like announcers referencing it, like tonight, like McCarthy missed a couple throws. He missed an egregious one down the left sideline, and Collinsworth's like, "You got to do it." Like, I'm gonna try to do my Collinsworth impression. It's like, "Yeah, you know what, Mike? You kind of got to do. Look at what Russell Wilson does with that moon ball." This is terrible. This is
that was horrible, man.
This is a terrible Collinsworth impression. It's the first time I tried it on the spot, but
I respect that.
Being, like, when you throw that deep ball, they're comparing it to how Russ throws it for a reason, and Russ was pinpoint in this game, and so it does make a player like Wan'Dale look better to me, in my opinion.
Yes, Jake Andrews, thank you so much. Believe Hard Knocks. That's how they picked Bowen. Yeah.
No, I think that was for the cameras. I gotta hope. My God.
Yeah, I don't know, Dan. We'll see. Actually, we'll never see. That's always going to be up for interpretation. Very ambiguous. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Ooh, second Antonio Pierce call for DC, or maybe just
linebacker. He might be better than whatever we're gonna have to play at linebacker if Muasau can't play.
Yeah, no, which is scary. Speaking of scary, he said scary to use Tracy on returns, needs handoffs. Yeah, we went over that a little bit earlier, and there were people in the chat making excellent points on that. Why Tracy basically didn't get benched, but he had his role significantly reduced. And I felt like Cam Scadaboo carried the mantle well in his stead.
Yeah.
Igor, thank you so much. Says the Hudson meltdown saved the game. If he just had 2 penalties and we score, we have more points, but we're playing with James Hudson the whole game. And then we don't know how good Marcus Mbow is either. Yeah,
it's possible. It's not a terrible take.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much once again. Why no contract extension for Illuminor?
It's gonna be tough to do. I mean, if you look at what some of these tackles are getting around the NFL, we're talking about a massive contract he's going to be asking for.
Yeah, and I think the Giants are waiting to see what they have in Andrew Thomas's long-term health, which is scary, and then Marcus Mbow.
Yeah.
Anthony, thank you so much, buddy. He says, thanks, man. Can't keep my eyes open. Wish your guys could do this earlier. We
will try to do this earlier, by the way, at times. I think we'll talk about it, but there will be times we can try to fit it in after the 4:00 games for sure.
Yeah, we just couldn't today. I focused on Mbow a lot. Looked solid, although a terrible play. I don't think the interception was a big deal. They would have probably punted.
Oh, yeah. What were we in 3rd and 17 before the interception? Or was that the other drive?
I would have to check my notes.
Yeah, I'm not positive. Might have been 3rd and long. It would have been if he threw that out of bounds.
Yeah, Jake Andrews, thank you, says Bowen sucked, but the D did hold in overtime twice, and the offense was working until it short-circuited. I think we got to pass happy in OT. Night, guys.
I don't know if I can agree with that, Jake, because I don't think we can generate anything in the run game. We have no push up front with our offensive line, and we have no creativity, so I feel like we have to be pass heavy.
Yeah, same here. The run game issues is something that we need to like face as a fan base and be like, this might be like whatever.
Whoever the solution.
Now, I'll say this. The Giants have 3 quarterbacks who I trust to air it out right now with Russell Wilson. If they got Jameis ever in there, if he ever plays, and then Jackson Dart. I mean, a lot of them, like, I think you can use tempo, but like you need to, again, catch the football. You need to be precise with your ball placement with some of the receivers the Giants have. It just puts a lot of stress. When you're it's never good to be one-dimensional as an offense. The Giants need to figure this out when it comes to running the football, but they weren't great at it last year either. A lot of the success they had was really just due to Tyrone Tracy Jr. It's not like this offensive line blocks or brute blockers up front.
Agreed.
And that was on a 2nd and 14, the interception on overtime, by the way.
Yeah, so it would have been 3rd and 14 if he throws that out of bounds.
Yes. Ronnie Rivers, thank you so much. The game should have been finished. The touchdown. And
I know.
The defense should have been able to hold them down. It's the coaching. Heart. Thank you so much,
Dallas
Ronnie.
had the ball. That we scored that touchdown. That was like, that's supposed to be, as a fan base, you're supposed to be able to celebrate. Oh my God, how did he do it? No, I can't believe it. Russell Wilson just somehow, we only had 25 seconds left. Like, we're never going to score a touchdown. We got the ball 52 seconds left. We scored in like 20 seconds. Like, oh, how did he do it? He did it. He caught it. It's over. The game's supposed to be over as a fan. As a Giants fan, you're not over yet. You still have to go through this miserable next possession where you're thinking the whole time, like, can we screw this up? And even after all that, they get a stop on first down by actually getting some pressure up front. There's 14 seconds left. Cowboys have the ball at their own 33, and we just drop into this insane prevent zone and leave this 18-yard stop route. Like, dude, if you want to give up an 8-yard stop route in zone, fine. I would have been fine with that. That's what Bowen wants to do. He wants to let Ferguson get 8 yards down the field, turn around, catch it. He let him get 18 yards down the field. I counted the yards out, Nick. I was disgusted with it. Just fucking disgusted with it. And even I pointed out, even Carl Banks retweeted. At first, he was like saying something. Then he was like, you know what? I looked back and he's like, this was pretty unacceptable.
Yeah, it was definitely unacceptable. I heard Carl Banks had a crash out on the radio. I didn't
hear that, but I'd like to hear that.
Yes. No, it's tough, guys. It's tough in these streets, ladies and gentlemen. Pat Monahan, thank you so much. Hudson flights Bowen. Loser is fired. Winner too.
Fights Bowen, I guess. He was saying, yeah. Well, I think we know who would win that fight.
Yes. Yeah.
I doubt we'll see Hudson again this year. I'd be surprised.
I wouldn't say I don't. I would not.
Actually, no. We have so many injuries. We
yeah.
probably will see Hudson again.
And he's also getting paid. He's getting paid. And dude, that was a terrible, terrible outing. I don't think he was horrible in week 1. I think he was bad. I think he was suboptimal. And I know this isn't a popular take, but I have seen worse. Like, Evan Neal was worse than James Hudson was when Evan Neal was starting, right? Like, so I think that Dable's going to say, like, oh, we'll see. We'll check the film. But hopefully Marcus Mbow starts next week. But I don't know. How shocked would you be on a scale of 1 to 10 if James Hudson starts next week? Say Andrew Thomas is not there.
Oh, I'd be pretty damn shocked.
So scale to 1 to 10.
But this stupid coaching staff, I'll say 6.
Okay, yeah.
It would make literally no sense.
That's probably where I would be at too, like 6.8, something like that.
Yeah, I'd still be over a 5 on a shock factor. It just wouldn't make, unless the tape is worse than we thought with Mbow, which I guess we have to wait to see.
I mean, there was nothing glaring, and maybe the Giants. I don't remember the Giants doing like a ton to like protect him. Right? It wasn't like Theo was on his side every time.
No.
I'm excited for the all-22, even though it's going to be upsetting, but still. Isser, thank you so much. Theo made catches this week. I know. Thankfully, right? Still think you can get him involved. Still think there's more there for a guy like him, but he couldn't even handle the 3 targets last week. So I guess maybe we'll have to wait a little bit longer. Igor, thank you so much. Do you guys think it's time for the NFL to offset how easy it is for kickers to make field goals now with rule changes? A field goal becoming likely as soon as a team crosses the 50 is not good football.
Yeah, it's a great point, especially with the new kickoff rules, which are leading to people getting great field position way better than they used to. I guess that's what he meant by that.
Yeah.
And the kickers are just so good these days. They're just phenomenal, with the exception of young Wake.
It drives the market up for kickers, right? But kicking is such a mental thing as well. Like, we've seen so many kickers kind of come and go, and then they miss one kick, and then that snowballs. I think that happened didn't it happen to Aubrey at the end of a season, either last year or 2 years ago? Was that Aubrey, or was it a Cowboys kicker? Like in the playoffs when they faced the Buccaneers like 2 years ago in 2023.
Maybe. I don't think it was
Aubrey there at that time, or was
I can't imagine.
Else?
I feel like Aubrey.
Chat, help us out.
Yeah, I don't think it was Aubrey, but maybe.
Because I remember being like, oh, yeah, it was rough. Giants realist, thank you so much. When Thomas comes back, what's your ideal offensive line combo? It would be.
What do you think, Nick?
So let's just go under the assumption that Jermaine Illuminor is willing, and I don't know if he would be. He might want to just play tackle because he's looking to get paid.
Right.
But let's just go under the assumption that he is. Yeah, it was Bailey. Thanks, guys. That he is willing. Then it would be Thomas, Illuminor, JMS, like Runyon, and Marcus Mbow. Yeah,
it would definitely include Mbow for me. The question would be where, and that's where it gets interesting for me. Because the thing is, this goes back to the coaching staff, though, Nick. Remember what they told us throughout this offseason?
Brett Maher, by the way. Sorry.
Brett Maher. Yeah, I do remember that name. They're only trading they're only training Mbow to be a tackle. So he hasn't worked a lot at these other positions. So I almost feel like Mbow's the only option the Giants have put themselves in position of having is having Mbow at one of the 2 tackle spots. So that would mean we would need what you said to happen. Illuminor be willing to move inside the guard, which I don't know if he'd be willing to do, to be honest, with the contract. But then the other situation is like, okay, well then can we get Mbow inside on the interior? I don't know. Maybe like, is that an easy transition, Nick? Like, is that possible that they can do it? It seems
that seems like a tall task for a rookie to do. I mean, I thought it was kind of crazy that they were like, hey, you're going to play left tackle after starting off at right tackle. And he actually handled it well.
Yeah, he did great with it. So maybe he can. That's the thing.
I don't know, man. Like a guy with his feet, I want to play tackle. He's a tackle, I think.
I think he's a tackle, and I think he's proven he could definitely be a tackle at the NFL level. Most likely we hit on him. But I also think he would be, I said it from when they drafted him, I think he'd be a really interesting center. And I think he could add a dynamic to our run game that we don't have from John Michael Schmitz, to be completely honest. But they're not training him there. But that's just something that I have in mind.
Yeah. Good problem to have. It's a problem at all.
Yep.
Mbow is a real talent. You can see it. Ronnie, we agree. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank God. We probably hit on him, which is amazing.
Yeah, well, let's not put the cart before the horse, but I think so as well. Cliffside, thank you. What's the ideal line when AT returns? Mbow starts. Yeah, we just went through that. But
yeah, I think it's with Illuminor and minus GVR is probably the answer, right?
I think so.
Or Runyon, because Runyon's playing through an injury now. He got hurt in this game, and he said he felt something crack.
And I don't think he looks good anyways.
No, he's not a good guard in this league.
No. Wasn't he like a 7th round pick or an undrafted guy coming out of Michigan?
Yeah, and then the Packers O-line made him look good because they have a good situation there and a good system. And then we just signed him because Joe Shane just does these kind of things.
H50 Pharaoh, thank you so much. This game reminded me of the Manning Romo games. Do we cut Hudson? No, we would incur like $7 million in dead cap or a little bit less. That's not going to happen. Do we get Antonio Pierce as DC? Possibly, but not right now. This was a rough one to lose. Are we going in the right direction?
Well, I love this call, by the way, Pharaoh, saying this did remind me of the Manning Romo games. It's been so long since we had a fun Manning Romo looking in Dallas Dome, in that dome game where offense can shine. It's indoors. It's not cold out yet. And Manning used to do it with Romo, and we had Russ do it today with Dak Prescott, who's done it to us plenty of times, Dak Prescott, and we finally got a chance to do it back to him. Just couldn't finish the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. And
are we going in the right direction? I think so, on offense at least.
I mean, are we talking broadly? Are we talking, as Dan would say, 30,000-foot view, or are we talking just for the 2025 seasons? Just for the 2025 season, they took massive steps from week one. I just don't know if the right people are in charge of this organization.
And let me ask you this, as I was thinking about this, the Runyon signing. Joe Shane's made a lot of signings now as GM. He just keeps having to do it because his team just sucks and he can't get depth on this team. And his drafts are just horrible throughout. We're burning picks on Hyatt and JMS, whatever it may be. Are we happy with any of the free agents he's made besides Illuminor? Has there been a single value move, even a good move that he's made in free agency? I'm trying to think about it.
So you could say he's slightly overpaid for Okereke. He got a really good year out of Okereke.
I would not call Okereke a win.
Got a good year out of Okereke, but the Giants were abysmal. So it's just like, how do you weigh that? You know, I think if Wink Martin, I think Okereke could still be a good football, but he does look a little slower. And
slow as hell to me.
There were some plays in week one where I was like, he looks slow. And there were others where I was like, especially when he's coming downhill and he's like sifting through, I was like, he looks pretty explosive there. But overall, I would tend to agree with you that it's a step back. Runyon, $10 million a year, that does not look like a good signing. No. I think Adebo on net will be a solid signing. I don't know if I think that because I just believe he's a very good football player, or if the Giants would be in a disastrous situation if they didn't have him. And that is an important question because it reflects broadly on Joe Shane, right? Because Joe Shane was the one who drafted Deonte Banks, who they don't really want to put out there because he's Deonte Banks, right? So that question is weighted and kind of brought down by incompetence from Joe Shane to begin with. And then other than that, trying to think if there's somebody in chat, please weigh in on this as well. If there's a free agent
out, but I mean,
Illuminor is an easy one.
It was a great move. Yeah, they did a good job on that one. But outside of that, Singletary is not a great signing. We're burning money there this year. We don't really need him at all, to be quite frank. I'd be fine with just Turbo Miller having that roster spot, to be honest. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It's not worth the money. You know, Darren Waller was a trade, but Trying to think of the other ones. I really don't feel great about any of them besides Illuminor. He just has a really bad track record in the draft and free agency so far as GM. It's a big problem.
It's a problem. Yeah. And it's one reason why Dable can't get it done. I think it's
Yep.
overall been an incompetent operation at this point. Or
Yep.
if maybe if incompetent is strong, like you judge competency based on the success that you have in the league, and you're going up against people who are just much better at their job than you are. And their
Right.
job is to win football games. And the Giants just have not really done that since 2022.
Yep.
All right. Where are we? Sean, thank you so much, Sean Sullivan. Do you think the players dislike Bowen's defense? Well, they'll probably never say
know.
that.
Yeah, we'll never know, but we
I
can
don't-
maybe tell by body language.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, the leaders on that defense are flying around, but I think that's more of a reflection on those players, i.e. Brian Burns, and I'm even going to throw Kayvon Thibodeau into that as well because he's running around like a madman. I felt like both of them look great in this game.
Yeah, Kayvon looked great again.
Tough to tell. Cliffside, thank you so much. At least with Antonio Pierce at defensive coordinator, we know how to fit the run. Yes.
Yeah, and we know how to stop a screen.
Yeah. Yes, we would. I love that callback right there, baby. Isser, thank you so much again, buddy. Random thought. Are we better on turf than grass?
I think all teams offensively are better on turf than grass.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a pretty ubiquitous.
If I was a quarterback, I would love to get drafted to a dome team. I feel like it just changed my whole career.
Yeah,
make it so much easier.
Yeah, but I don't know about the Giants per se because they're not really good on either. They're not really winning football games on either, and that's what I'm really focused on right now. But a good question though, nonetheless.
Offensively,
thank you so much. Isser also says Burns is really stepping it up. I agree.
Yeah,
man.
Another phenomenal game. He plays so many snaps, man. He's
so tired. Yeah,
we talked about it at the time. I would do that trade 1,000 out of 1,000 times.
Yeah, that was a home run right there.
Yeah.
But I think that's Joe Shane, to his credit, taking advantage of a player who was not going to re-sign with Carolina. That I think Carolina might have had a new regime coming in, and Carolina
he took advantage of his relationship too with that GM.
Yes, dropped the ball by not trading him in the previous offseason, man. They could have got 2 1s. That's how much Sean McVay wanted him over there.
Right.
Could you imagine if they probably wouldn't have drafted Jared? They probably wouldn't have went in a totally different direction. But if they didn't, and they had Verse, Fisk, and Brian Burns, damn. Yeah. It's already a talented pass rush. Cliffside, thank you so much. Says players were sucking wind at the end of the game. Is that bad coaching? I mean,
no, it's a lack of depth on our end.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, that's all the supers, though.
Bad roster management, I would say.
That's all the supers, guys, and we really appreciate you guys joining us. So close, but it seemed like it was so far away, and that's why it's so damn depressing.
This one didn't seem that far away to me. It just seems like we just stupidly blew a game that we should have won, and it's just so frustrating. Hopefully, they can steal a game next week against the Chiefs, who don't look like they're playing their best football at all. I saw end of the game today. Did you see that thing that got clipped? I thought this was so funny. It was when Jalen Hurts was kneeling at the end of the game in victory formation. They got caught on a hot mic, Chris Jones saying to Jalen Hurts, "Bro, you suck. You didn't even throw for 100 yards in this game." And Jalen Hurts like, "But we got the win," and like asshole or something like that. They curse him out. I got the win, dumbass. Like, and it's just like I said this last week. The Eagles are going to win so many games this year like this, where they look like exactly like the 2024 Chiefs. Everyone's like, "Are the Eagles bad? Like, this is the real? I don't know if I trust the Eagles." And they're just going to keep winning football games like this. So I don't want to make too much of that Chiefs-Eagles game today. As far as like the Chiefs keeping it close to some extent, I think the Chiefs are not playing their best ball, and I think they're vulnerable. I'm not saying the Giants are going to beat the Chiefs right now, Nick, but I'm saying we should be able to compete again.
Especially if they come out like they did in this one. The Giants were hungry. Giants were freaking hungry in this game, offensive and defensively. It's just
penalties.
Penalties. Overeager. I mean, Dable said that he wanted his players to be aggressive. Like he said that in the press. You got something going on outside your window?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah, no, but they were aggressive. They were way too aggressive, a little bit too aggressive, I would say. And it's a shame.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Big Blue Banter podcast. Thank you for those of you watching on YouTube, anyone who left a comment and a like. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you to everybody in the chat making it lively tonight. We'll be back at it, as you know, tomorrow with the film review, the All-22 offense and All-22 defense. Please do us a favor and watch that show. Hit the like button at the very least and leave a comment. Help us grow. I believe our All-22 shows are defining and they're our best content, and they take a shit ton of time for both Nick and I. It was in the preparation for it and the actual show itself. So please support that show. We always feel a little disappointed in how few on how much more successful the offensive film pod is than defense. The defense is fun to watch too. I have a feeling though this week is going to be even crazier like that because the offense was actually really fun to watch. But check them both out. They're both good shows, and they both dive into the all 22. You'll get to watch all 22 with us. We'll break down the plays for you, and you'll get to see the why of what happened in this game.
And I would argue, that's sorry, buddy. I would argue that's evergreen as well.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff that we go through when it comes to what's actually happening behind the chess game that is the National Football League and football in general.
Completely agree. Thank you to everybody. Have a great rest of your Sunday or Monday morning at this point, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.